sitting there in fetal position, numb and crying, thinking, is this really my life? Breaking up with the person that you think you're going to be with forever is so hard. Let me take you back a few steps. So, guys, my name is Chaya Garcia. I'm a relationship expert by default of living the life that I speak to you about. When I was 26 years old, I thought I had everything. I had everything that society tells you that you need. I had the nice house. I had the fancy car. I had the attractive boyfriend. I had a master's degree and it was straight A's. Everyone was so proud of me. But I was not proud of myself. And I think that's the biggest point that I really want to hone in on. Are you proud of yourself? Because I had the money, I had the degree, I had the straight A's, I had all the lucrative job opportunities, but I was miserable. So I'm asking you, are you happy or are you a little bit miserable? Are you fully happy or are you a little bit miserable? Listen to the voice inside of yourself and think, where am I still happy and where am I still unhappy? Where is there a little bit of misery still staying stuck inside my body that I'm just allowing to live there? And where am I happy? Your happiness should be the majority of your feeling. It should be the majority of your body. Everyone has lows and challenges, but the majority of your life should be filled with joy and happiness and contentment. But that wasn't where I was at 26 years old. So my boyfriend at the time, we're going back more than 10 years now, came over after I had made a beautiful breakfast and printed out things to learn about for Shabbat because I was inspiring him to do things that I wanted to do as well. I already kept Shabbat and it meant something to me. So I figured I'd print out some really nice inspirational things for him to read so that maybe he'd want to keep Shabbat with me too. After all, he loved me, I loved him. Let's do this, right? I'm helping him get to where he needs to be so that we can be together. It all made so much sense. So I print out this inspirational piece. I have the breakfast waiting. He pulls up. He comes upstairs. And then not so interested in the food, not so interested in the thing I printed out. And then he comes to tell me that he's breaking up with me to go to a music festival upstate New York. And the reason that he was breaking up with me to go to the festival was because he knew that I didn't allow drugs, but he wanted to do drugs. Now, let's just talk about the fact that I said I didn't allow drugs. When I met this man, he was already doing drugs. He was already doing drugs all the time. But I said to him when we got together that I don't allow drug use. So if he wants to be with me, then he can't do drugs. And I thought that made so much sense, right? Like, you met me, you like me, I don't do drugs, I don't want drugs in my life. So if you want to be with me, then you just don't do drugs too. So he then broke up with me because he was going to go do drugs at the festival, and then that wouldn't work. Okay, guys, I want you to just hear the logic, right? Everything I just said. If you want to be with me, I don't accept this, so then, don't do that, right? And the flaming insanity, okay? Because it took me a long time to realize how insane I was and how diseased I was and how sick I was. I found someone who was not in a place where he wanted to stop doing drugs. He was very happy doing drugs. That was his identity at that time of his life. I think that just because I show up in his life and that we hang out and have a great time, that he is going to change his entire character, his fundamental core being of who he was at that time, his identity that he was a young person who went out a lot and did drugs a lot for me. Who am I? Doesn't matter if we loved each other or had a good time. Irrelevant. Not one person in the whole world, no matter how amazing you are, can change another individual. It is their job and their job only with the help of God to change themselves. So when you want your spouse to change or your boyfriend to change or your girlfriend to convert, you are fucking delusional, man. And I say that with so much love and compassion because I was fucking delusional. You cannot change anyone. And when you think about this working out, this relationship between me and you and this other person working out, once they change, once they're a little bit different, you don't even know what love is. Like, you're so far gone. I was so far gone. I didn't even know what love was. Because love, if I really loved him, I wouldn't want to change him. And more significantly, if I really loved myself, I wouldn't place myself in this deluded state that if he changes, I'll get the love that I need. It was a big delusion. I was not well. It's a sick thought to think that your girlfriend's going to convert to your religion or your boyfriend's going to stop doing drugs or drinking for you. It's twisted because people change when they want to change, if they want to change. And most people don't want to change. Most people are happy where they're at. Most people don't want to convert to your religion. Most people don't want to stop doing the drugs. Most people don't want to stop drinking. Most people don't want to stop watching the pornography. Most people don't want to stop overworking. They've become this unhealthy being and they don't want to change. They're comfortable in their chaos. And when they get uncomfortable, that's when they'll change. But it's not going to come from you inspiring them or pressuring them. Because there's really only two options. You're inspiring them. Oh, please, you should be so much healthier. You could be so much more connected to God. You could be so much more healthier. You won't have all this drama. Look at all these amazing people who have healed themselves too. Be like them. So you're inspiring them or you're pressuring them. Like, if you don't change, I can't be with you. If you don't, change your religion or change your status or get a better job or quit your drugs, I'm not going to be with you. So you're pressuring them is an ultimatum that you are going to remove your love from their life if they don't change who they are for you. How fucking sick are you? And I'm saying that with love for you and compassion, because that was me. Like, how fucking sick was I that I thought I could either inspire or pressure this sweet young 20-something-year-old guy to be different than who he already was and to try to rip him of his own spiritual life journey. I'm not in touch with him now. I don't know where he's at. But he had and still has his own spiritual life journey of how he's going to change and grow and shift and how his relationship's going to be with God and if he's going to be healthy or not, and if he's going to have the breakdowns, the letdowns, the rock bottoms, where he's going to have powerful life lessons for his character, that he's not going to want to do drugs anymore. But that may or may never happen, but his plan is his plan. My plan is my plan. So I was using all my energy thinking about his plan. I was using all my energy thinking my plan has to be his plan. Like, his plan has to be my plan. I cannot just let him go because I love him. So therefore, he needs to stop doing what he's doing or change and be better for me because I don't want to let him go. I don't want anybody else. And I remember that so powerfully, this desire just to not want anyone else. But I was really stuck in not loving myself because if I really loved myself, I would want someone else. And when I finally learned how to love myself, and I realized what love actually is, which is the acceptance of the self, not the pressuring or the change, then I didn't want him, and he was revolting. But obviously it took a while to feel like I can't leave him, I need him, I want him, I don't want to lose him, I don't want to love someone else, to, if I love myself, this isn't love. And therefore his behavior, which isn't aligned with my highest potential of life, is revolting and gross. And ew, why would I ever stay with someone like that? It took me a long time to go from, oh, please change, I love you, to ew, gross. I am going to stay and try to use all of my energy hoping that you change your behavior that you were doing when we already met so that I don't suffer because I can't handle being alone right now? I couldn't be alone. I was scared to be alone. And the main reason I was scared to be alone was because my environment did not facilitate safety. And when you have a traumatic environment, when there is a trigger, it triggers your traumas. And then you need to seek out your addictive safe haven. So for me, my addictive safe haven was him. He was nurturing and kind, and I didn't have to think about everything I needed to change. I only had to be with him and then hope things changed with him for everything to be okay. But I didn't have an environment that was conducive to healing. I lived with a lot of fucking crazy shit, a lot of it. And I didn't have a safe place to heal properly. So when things would happen in my environment that would trigger me and make me feel scared and unsafe, I would run to him because he was my safe space, even though it was so unsafe at the foundation, because I didn't have the space to learn how to love myself because there was just too many triggers coming at me. So when you want to heal, whoever is hearing this, you are destined to heal. If you are watching me right now, I am a soul in a speck on this earth. And I am going to be here for however long, but it's still short in the infinity of life. And you are here watching me in this moment in the same infinity of life together. And I was blessed to heal, and so will you. Look at your environment, and if you're still being triggered and there's not enough safety, consider creating a new environment. That might mean divorcing. That might mean moving. That might mean, taking some of your savings and for 3 months use it so that you can quit and go to a new city. But don't let money and time stop you, because those are very in God's hands. And when I was able to change my environment, I was able to heal. So I started going to program. At 26 years old, I started to go to Nar-Anon, which is essentially like Al-Anon or AA, but for family and friends of the addicts. So Al-Anon is Alcoholics Anonymous for friends and family of the addicts, and Nar-Anon is Narcotics Anonymous and friends and families of the addicts who do narcs versus or drugs versus just alcohol, even though reality is they all overlap. So if you find an Al-Anon group or a non-Anon group, it's all good. I personally love the literature of Nar-Anon. I find it touches me like much more deeply than Al-Anon, but they're both powerful. So don't make an excuse. Go to one if you're seeing this and this is relevant to your life on healing and learning how to love yourself and shift your energy from outward to inward. So I started going to program, and I realized that I was really sick because no one tells you you're sick. Unless you're sick with like a thermometer in your mouth and that like hot water bottle on your head and you're in bed going woo with like tissues on your side, no one thinks you're sick, right? So here I was, a young, very successful bachelor's degree, straight A's, 2 years pre-PhD, high levels of connections and research, and then my master's degree, also straight A's, graduating, never missed school, had my own car, never did drugs, never was drinking, worked out, I ran, I took care of myself, I didn't eat shitty food. Guys, like, you would think I was pretty freaking healthy if you knew the outside. But if you knew my insides, you'd be like, damn, she a little fucked up. She a little confused. I was a little confused. So my confusion was that I thought that being hard on myself was a beneficial way to grow, that criticism was acceptable. And I thought that I can love someone to heal. I can use my love as a power tool, like fucking saw them in half with my love, and therefore things will miraculously change. I was very controlling, but I didn't know that love for another person without their consent was control. I just thought I was being loving. Like, he's an addict, he's, snorting ketamine or doing this crazy shit and driving high. I'm going to help him. I'm going to help him. I love him. He listens to me sometimes, which is a bunch of bullshit. He never listened to me. He just heard me or listened to me, but never heard me. He would fucking listen to me as much as I would talk. He would stay there and listen. Did he actually internalize a thing I said? Zero, guys. So stop talking at people. Love without consent is control. So when you love someone so much that you want them to go to the gym, that you want them to start working out, that you want them to stop doing drugs, that you want them to stop drinking alcohol, and you're like, I love them. I want the best for them. I want them to heal. This is the most important thing, is that I take care of the people in my life that I love. And aren't I supposed to help them be better? Like I'm their wife or their mother. Like, aren't I supposed to just help them? Like, this is my job. I can't just leave them suffering like this or not being as healthy as I know that they can be if only they stopped doing the drugs or the drinking or went to the gym or quit their job or got a new job or whatever your freaking fill in the blank is that you want someone else to do. Guys, that, unless they sit with you and say, hey, love, I really, really want your help stopping doing drugs or drinking. Can you please help me? I would love if you can put your schedule in where you can take me to a meeting. Or I would love if you could please sit with me once a night and we'll go over some program work. Unless they sit and ask you and give you their consent, and it came from them that they want whatever you want them to change, it's not A, going to ever happen from you, and B, you're just going to turn into an unhealthy, not safe space for them. You're just going to be a space that they walk away from that topic instead of come to, because you're not safe. They already know that you have an agenda for them to change in this direction, so why should they listen to you? Love without consent is control, because I was trying to control him. I was trying to control his behavior. I was going to try to control our love. I was trying to control my future. I was trying to control his behavior. I was going to try to control him not leaving me, even if he was still dating me, abandoning me countless times when he was high or napping from being high at a different time. So there was already a lot of he left me's. He just didn't leave me. Like, I can still call him when I need. But that's delusional, right? There's no consistency. He wasn't actually there for me because I wasn't actually there for myself to see it for what it was. So that was my story. So I started going to program. I started learning how to not criticize myself. I started learning that love without consent is control. I started realizing that I was really, really, really controlling, and I was really, really, really wanting to control so many different things in my life that I didn't know how to love, and I didn't make space for God to do his magic. Excuse me. My tea. So God has a lot of magic for you, but you gotta have space for him to like work his magic instead of you trying to be God. So after many, many like weeks and months of program, I finally got a mentor, Nancy, whose text just came in, and she basically sat with me and she did a little bit of like CBT in a sense, where it's like, I was like, I hate myself for, or I'm a really bad person for doing this, or I'm really guilty for doing that. And she'd be like, okay, but you do see how like that's not really a bad thing, or you have done that, right? Or you didn't actually do that much, or you don't really need to feel guilty because that's not actually your truth. And a lot of the things that I was thinking just weren't even true. I was beating myself up over so many things, being hard on myself for so many belief systems that weren't even true. I was a much better, healthier person than I thought I was inside, but I couldn't see it because I was just so critical of not being enough or doing enough or having enough or healing fast enough. When I started healing, I was like, oh, he's an addict. Let's just break up. Done. But then I wasn't actually ready to let him go. So then I would keep coming back. Just like an addict who's not really ready to leave his drugs will keep going back to the drug, I was not really ready to leave him and my drug of choice, codependency and control of another, because I wasn't really ready. So I went to program and I went to program and I learned exactly what, who he is and who I am. And I'm like, okay, now we have to separate. But I wasn't healed enough to handle the abandonment because I wasn't loving myself enough. I wasn't in an environment that was supportive internally or externally. So once I learned to be my own best friend, to see my thoughts and check them if they're true, and I was able to develop a sense of self that could handle the blow of a breakup. Because if you're too weak, you can't handle the blow. It's like a death and abandonment. It's too scary for you. You'll just stay where you're comfortable. So for me, what I learned was that I need to be okay, because if I just break up with him, I'm just going to keep going back, which is what I did. I kept going back to my breakup with him randomly. Then I'd call him up and say, "Can we meet?" And he'd say yes. And then I'd break up with him again randomly. And then he'd call me up or I'd call him up and we'd meet up again and we'd have a great time again. And we'd go out to eat again and we'd go have a beer in a field again. And it's like, and then I'd be like, oh, what am I doing? This is not my highest life. And I'd break up. But I was hurting myself with that. And I was hurting him. He didn't need my drama, but I was healing. So that was my journey. Eventually, I moved to a new country. I left America and I started living on my own, where I was able to facilitate an environment and relationships that were beneficial and conducive to my growth. I started going to Al Anon there in the new country. I started developing new friends. I started not even thinking about dating guys. And if a guy came up, I was like, if he had any signs of addiction or smoking pot or drinking even a tiny bit of alcohol, I was like, I'm not interested in your instability. Been there, done that. I'm on a new journey of going towards my highest potential. And when I created this new life for myself, leaving my family behind, leaving drama behind, leaving a lot behind, I found myself and I put myself first. And then I started my own company and I started doing private practice from the degrees that I got and all of this knowledge that I studied, because after I went to program, I was like, holy crap, I didn't know I had this horrible disease of codependency, that I'm so twisted and delusional that I can't even see things as true or false. Because again, to the outside world, I was very successful, but to the inside world, I was very controlling and just not honest with myself. So I read and ingested thousands of words and stories and books and hours of program, of real live stories of women who attracted these addict men, of people who attract each other, of women with their spouses, moms with their spouses, with and their kids, and the dynamics. And I like was obsessed with learning everything about what attracts two people together, what sustains a marriage, and what destroys it. And so I read hundreds of books and like Codependent No More, and hundreds of hours where I would journal and ask myself, what's my beliefs about women? What are my beliefs about men? What are my beliefs about intimacy? What are my beliefs about money? What is my beliefs about marriage? What are my beliefs about myself? And like hours and hours. What are my good character traits? What are my bad character traits? What are the character traits that are flawed that I want to work on and strengthen? What parts of me am I not happy with? Where do I need to work on? And hours and dozens of books and self-help. And I learned so much because I was destined to do this for the rest of my life, which I didn't know then, but hungry to never repeat my mistake again, because I was already a straight A student. So I already did like 8 years of schooling. I was really smart, but I was so stupid in the sense that I was so ignorant, but I was very, very good at learning. I was very good at memorizing. I still am very intelligent. I love learning. I love growing. I love learning from the greats that came before me, that healed before me, that have so much knowledge. before me that I can learn from them. I don't have to trip up and make the same mistakes again if they can just tell me what, where my mistakes were, so I can see them, have an awareness, have an internalization, and avoid them again. It's like you don't have to step in the pothole. If someone just says the pothole's to the left, you'll go to the right. But if you're like not paying attention and you're walking to the left and you go into the pothole, I mean, that's gonna suck. But all these people who came before you will just be like, dude, there's one coming up on the left, and you'll just stay to the right, and bam, your whole life just changed. You didn't fucking break your leg. And you didn't have to take 2 months off of work. And you were able to still run and enjoy your life, all because you just read from all these people who said, so coming up in a few feet is a pothole on your left. So, you guys, there is a lot of information, and I implore you to check up on it. Codependency, addiction, self-help, Louise Hay, Gabby Bernstein, Jamie Kern Lima, Tony Robbins, Chaya Garcia, all of these people who have tons of knowledge because they spent tons of years studying it. I've spent 20 years studying one thing. And the past 10 years, even more so avidly studying this one thing of relationships and how to love yourself and how to empower yourself, because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know what love is. I didn't know how to empower myself. I just knew how to empower someone else. I didn't know how to be nice to myself. I just knew how to be nice to someone else. I didn't know how to be sweet to myself, but I knew how to be sweet to someone else. And I was really good at loving. I was so good at loving. I still am. But I wasn't good at loving me because I just thought, you love someone else. You give to someone else. You write someone else love notes. Now I write myself love notes. Hashtag sticky love. put like a little love note on a Post-it and stick it on your wall and tag me. Guys, you have so much potential for life. You have so much potential for love. But until you learn that you are the source of your own love and that it is self-generated, can you then correctively apply it to others in your life? If you think that your love is being given to you from someone else, well, you'll keep seeking it out from someone else. You'll be like, will he love me? He's hot. I hope he'll love me. He's hot and rich. Please love me. But if you don't realize that love comes from yourself, starts from yourself, and it's only from that place that you generate it and give it back out, you can't attract the right person who will do that for you. I was literally just having this conversation with someone who realized that the exact relationship that she attracted was the relationship she had with herself. So if we don't commit to ourselves, devote ourselves to ourselves, and are inconsistent with our love, we're going to attract someone who's not devoted, committed, and inconsistent with their love to us. We attract the love that we already are. It's a vibration. It's a reality. There's science based on this. We are energy fields. So take this time now to learn how to love yourself, to break those patterns. Send me a DM. What's the biggest struggle right now in your life? I have dealt with suicidal ideation, breaking up with addicts who snorted ketamine and did other crazy stuff. My brother was murdered wrongfully during a mental health break for not sleeping and having bipolar, and the police weren't trained in how to handle mental health crises. My best friend at 25 overdosed from a bad batch of heroin. There's nothing too big. My parents are no longer together, but there's nothing too big. What are you struggling with? I've been to more funerals than birthday parties by the age of 30, by far more funerals than birthday parties. What are you struggling with? Send me a DM. I want to connect with you. Let's connect. Let's take away the shame of feeling small or hidden or not wanting to connect with people who want to connect with you, who are there for you, who are putting their life out for you to connect with, just as people have done for them in the past. I'm only as good as I am because of my mentors like Nancy and Rebitson Edelman and all these people in my life that took me from my space of not having good support and giving me that right support in a healthy way. So when you can message me and ask me what you're struggling with and what questions you have on having a better relationship and breaking transgenerational trauma bonds, I want to hear, I want to connect. So now I am happily married to a phenomenal man. His name is Adam. He is the love of my life, and we have gorgeous children who inspire me every day and who I've always lived for before they were even born. Like, they were always my inspiration to create a healthy home so that I can create healthy kids and have a space where they can be and live healthfully. So we live now in a beautiful home and we have a beautiful family. My husband doesn't do drugs, he doesn't drink, he's super stable, super inspirational, totally my rock, really emotionally available. I could have never attracted such an emotionally available, stable, sober man if I first didn't do the hard work to become stable and sober, because I was drinking beer and emotionally available, not being hard on myself and actually coming towards myself when I was going through something versus away. So if you're ready to heal, we are doing a 5-day self-love challenge. I would love for you guys to join. It is a free 5-day self-love challenge. I will send the link below. Click the link below to register. It's totally free and it's for you to heal, to have the best 2025. You need this, I need this, we all need this. I continue to grow in my life. Healing is the number one thing that I love to do. You can always get better and better and better. So this is for everyone on every stage of their journey, whether they're beginning or just getting into it a little more. So click the link below to join me on my free 5-day self-love challenge. I look forward to the greatness that's going to come into your life. This is Kaya Garcia with Love in a Cup. I hope you have a great day. Click the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.